What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel, kicking it back to some more Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duels content. Today I was actually going to consider sitting down and doing some ranked matches with the previous deck profiles or doing some fighters content, but with the Xyz Festival, I found no better time to sit down and give you guys a super powerful deck that you guys can hop in, not only to play ranked with, but to play and enjoy in the Xyz Festival. I bring you probably the most powerful version of SLIFER, the Sky Dragon, Numeron SLIFER. There are multiple different ways of playing SLIFER the Sky Dragon. You can go old school, you can go Arcana Joker. Numeron is agreed upon by the community probably the best, and that's not honestly why I built it. I kind of built it before I heard the general consensus from the community, just because I wanted something a little different. I tried the previous decks in the past. I was like, you know what? Let's see if I can get this to work, and oh my god, does it. So, without further ado, let's hop in. The deck is the exact same except for the extra deck. I'll show you the differences between this and the Xyz Festival deck. And if you guys enjoy the Master Duel content, you know what to do. Top left, bottom right. Let's get into it. First off, we play 3 Numeron Wall. Now, if you control no cards except for Numeron Walls, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard to activate 1 Numeron Wall directly from your hand or deck. This is great. This is another hand trap essentially, but it also works very strong with its second effect. You can only use this effect of Numeron Wall once per turn. When you take battle damage, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, end the battle phase after the damage step. So, you're setting yourself up to be able to use Numeron Wall on the field, ending the battle phase immediately to avoid really spicy damage. So, say you go first, and you don't want to take any action. This is a going second deck that you want to go second with this deck. And your opponent summons like 5 cards onto the field. You got Numeron Wall in your hand. Bop, you end the battle phase. There we go. Great card. Love this card. It's SLIFER the Sky Dragon. We gotta play 3 Max C. Not gonna talk about it. Let's move on. I do tech in 1 Ash Blossom just because this is a stall heavy deck until you can get your Numerons or SLIFER out. So you kind of gotta have some form of like, hey, I don't like that. Let's stop that. And Ash Blossom is pretty good at doing that. So I tech her in at a 1. I don't want to craft 3 of this card because I think this card is gross. Anyway, on to 3 Reactor Slime, kicking it back to that old school feel. During your main phase, you can activate this effect to special summon 2 slime tokens, both 500 attack and defense. You cannot normal summon or special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except for Divine Beast monsters. During your battle phase, quick effect, you can tribute this card, set 1 Metal Reflect card from your hand, deck, or graveyard. It can be activated this turn. That is a very nice effect to help stall. It's stall, and also your Metal Reflect slimes are great for getting out your Egyptian God slime. So, it's great for help setting up your field to stall, to get into a big beefy monster that can get out your SLIFER. Speaking of SLIFER, requires 3 tributes to normal summon this card. It's a god. This is a god. You have to give up something pretty great. If you don't know who SLIFER is, you're new to Yu-Gi-Oh! This card's normal summon cannot be negated. When normal summon cards and effects cannot be activated once per turn during the end phase. If this card was special summoned, send it to the graveyard. So don't do any special summoning of SLIFER. That's the only way we have to do that in this deck is Monster Reborn, so don't really have to worry about that all that much. It gains 1,000 attack and defense for each card in your hand. If a monster is normal summoned or special summoned to your opponent's field in attack position, that monster loses 2,000 attack. Then if the attack is reduced to 0, destroy it. This is a god, ladies and gentlemen. What else is there to say? SLIFER, while he has his obvious weaknesses, we mitigate almost all of those weaknesses by playing this deck. SLIFER is very powerful, and if you get him on the field, it's so hard for your opponent to recover. This guy is detrimental, considering everything else will play in the deck, and you'll start to see everything just mesh and fold in as we continue. Next up, we play Guardian Slime, more of that old school feel. Anytime you take battle damage or effect damage, you can special summon this card from your hand. During damage calculation, if this card battles an opponent's monster, it's a quick effect. You can make this card gain defense equal to the monster's attack during that damage calculation only. If this card is sent from the hand or field to the graveyard, you can add 1 spell or trap from your deck to your hand that specifically lists the Winged Dragon of Raw. Lame. lame. We don't care about that second part just because we don't play Winged Dragon. Well, we play SLIFER, the Sky Dragon, baby. But this card is phenomenal. It helps aid to the stalling that this deck can do, and it's another way to get out Egyptian God Slime. So you're going to start seeing everything ticking as we go along, and once we get to Egyptian God Slime, that is. And then finally, for the monsters, we play Nibiru, the primal being. I'm not going to explain what he does. You see these staples in every single deck. We're moving on. We just play one because I like it, and he's already saved my ass a ton. Monster Reborn, just played it a 1 because we kind of can't play anymore, and I'm going to talk about it. Let's move on. Terraforming, played it a 1, got to move on. Memories of Hope. Considering how this deck functions, when you get your Xyz plays off, you're going to have 4 of them on the field at a time. That's the reason why this card is limited to 2. Draw cards equal to the number of Xyz, Xyz monsters with different names that you control. You can only activate 1 Memories of Hope per turn. 4 draws, baby. 4. This card is nuts for SLIFER. It's so strong. Next up, we play Numeron Calling. If Numeron Network is in your field zone, you control no monsters, special summon up to 4 Numeron Gate Xyz monsters with different names from your extra deck, but banish them during the end phase. You can only normal summon or special summon once more for the rest of your turn. So there's a great combo that I'm going to talk about at the end of the video that works with this. So stay tuned for that. We're going to talk about that when we get there. This card is your go-to. This is what you need for the plays. And we have the special field spell to help with that. But let's talk about Mound of the Bound creators first. Level 10 or higher monsters on the field cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. If a level 10 or higher monster destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, the player who controlled the destroyed monster takes 1,000 damage. When this card is on the field is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 divine monster from your deck to your hand. So anything that's level 10 or higher, so your SLIFER, your Guardian Slime, your Egyptian God Slime, they cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. This card is great for helping keep them alive. It basically forces your opponent to target this card so they can target your level 10s. When they target this card, they're giving you access to a free SLIFER. This card helps a lot, but I only play it at 2 only because, this is, like I said, this is a Numeron specific deck. So it would kind of just clog it up if I played it 3 and 3, but we need 3 of the other field spell, which is Numeron Network. During your main phase, you can send 1 Numeron normal spell card that meets its activation conditions from your deck to the graveyard. This effect becomes that spell's effect when that card is activated. You can only use the effect of this effect of Numeron Network once per turn. Numeron Xyz monsters you control can activate effects without detaching materials. That sets up all the plays. This card is so important, which is why we play it at a 3 over Mound of the Bound creator. So you need this card. If you're not playing 3 Numeron Network, it's too inconsistent. I can tell you that right now. I have done the testing. It's way too inconsistent without this card. Next up, most people only play this card at a 2. I like this card too much to be playing it at just 1. Thunder Force Attack. This card's activation and effect cannot be negated. If you control a monster whose original name is SLIFER the Sky Dragon, destroy as many face-up monsters as your opponents control as possible. Then, if you activated this card during your main phase, you can apply the following effect. Draw cards equal to the number of monsters destroyed by this effect and sent to your opponent's graveyard. Also, you can only attack with 1 monster this turn. You can only activate 1 Thunder Force Attack per turn. This card is phenomenal with SLIFER on the field. It gives him his draws if you activate it during the main phase, and it's a full board wipe, dude. Like, this thing is it's made for a god, you know? This card is incredible. I don't know why people aren't playing this at 2 or higher. I think it's just too valuable to pass up. We're playing this card at a 2. Soul Crossing is another card you need at 3. This card is a must. So during the main phase, immediately after this effect resolves, tribute summon 1 Divine Beast monster. When you do, you contribute a monster your opponent controls even though you do not control them, but if you tribute summon this way, apply this effect. Until the end of the next turn after this card resolves, you can only activate 1 card or effect per turn, not counting the effects of Divine Beast. So you're kind of limiting yourself, but you're gaining access to just yoinking their board. You have no monsters, they got 3, play Soul Crossing, here comes SLIFER. This card is a must in this deck. Absolutely and 100% must. Play this card. Amazing. 3. Next up, onto the traps. We play 1 Reckless Greed, draw 2 cards, and skip your next 2 draw phases. We draw a ton with this deck. This is just to help us give us a quick boost to try and find what we need a little bit quicker. Play it at a 1. Ice Dragon's Prison. Target 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard. Special summon it to your field, but its effects are negated. Then you can banish 1 monster from both players' field that have the same type as each other. Most of the time, when people play their decks, the typings are gonna be similar. You know, they're playing an archetype deck. They're playing a specific focus style of deck. This card is really phenomenal for just getting rid of something really pesky on the field and help keeping you alive. Because we need Metal Reflect Slime, I only play it at a 1. It's a nice tech at 1, and it's helped me out a ton. Another tech at 1, we play Solemn Judgment. You know what this card does. If you don't, when a monster would be summoned or a spell or trap card is activated, pay half your life points to negate the summon or activation, and if you do, destroy that card. What else needs to be said? Yeah, you're paying half your life points, but honestly, who cares? This card's just dumb. It's really strong. It's incredible. It's a really strong card. That's all we're gonna say. Metal Reflect Slime. Special summon this card in defense position as an effect monster. Aqua, water, level 10. So Mound of the Bound Creator, baby. Attack 0, defense 3000. This card is also still a trap. Summon this way, this card can't attack, but who cares? It's got 0 attack. This card is here for Egyptian God Slime. And finally, we're here. Let's talk about the man himself. 1 Aqua monster plus 1 level 10 water monster. Must first either be fusion summon or special summon from your extra deck by tributing 1 level 10 Aqua monster with 0 attack. Bah! Bah! This is the point. That's why we play these cards. Now, to let you know why this card should be a UR and not an SR. This thing is broken. This card can be treated as 1 or 3 tributes for the tribute summon of a monster. A. He's a free SLIFER. Cannot be destroyed by battle. Your opponent's monsters cannot target for attacks. Or your opponent cannot target with card effects any monsters that you control except for Egyptian God Slime. And want to know what makes that so crazy? This card right here. If you have Mound of the Bound Creator, there's nothing that they can do when Egyptian God Slime hits the field. Because they're forcing them to target Egyptian God Slime. Like, I went silent there so you can understand what is actually going on. Now, obviously, they could still target Mound of the Bound Creator. But, again, if they pop that, guess what you're getting out of that? Like, you can't do anything to Egyptian God Slime anyway. So, you have two different forms of protection for your SLIFER, the Sky Dragon, and it's so easy to get out multiple Egyptian God Slimes. It really is. It's very, very easy. This card should be a UR. This card is absolutely absurd. Sure, yes, they could still pop Mound of the Bound Creator, like I said before, but that's one card they have to go through first, then another card that they have to go through, then another card that they finally have to deal with because they have to go through Egyptian God Slime first. That's the power of this card. And it's a 3K beater. It hits as hard as a Blue Eyes can slam into a Blue Eyes without even worrying about it because he can't be destroyed by battle. I love this card. I don't know why he has an animation and then the gods don't, but, you know, whatever. And now finally onto the Xyz monsters themselves. We play the Numeron monsters, the Numeron gates numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. We play each of these at a 2. They all have the exact same effect. At the end of the damage step, if this card battled an opponent's monster, you can detach 1 material from this card, double the attack of all Numeron cards you currently control until the end of this turn. You don't need to worry about that. All you need to worry about, because this is going to be out in the field, so they don't have to detach, you're going to get them all out with this, so they're all going to go into effect, and it doubles the attack of all Numeron monsters. Crash, activate effect. Crash, activate effect. Crash, activate effect. 8,000 attack for your last Numeron monster. If anything survives, it's gonna get destroyed. If you clear out their entire board, by the time that you get to this last monster here, they're dead. If they cannot stop you from attacking, you'll have either a 4,000 and two 4,000 beaters, or one 8,000 beater that's just going to destroy them for the life points. This card OTKs. That's why this is such a strong going second deck. And then finally, for the Exceed monsters, we play one number C, C1, Numeron, Chaos Gate, Sunya, sorry. So you can Exceed summon this monster by using number 1. You control as material. If this card is Exceed summoned, banish all monsters on the field. Once per turn, during your next standby phase after this card was banished, you can special summon this card. And then if Numeron Network is in your field zone, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the combined attack of all banished Exceed monsters. This counts for your opponent. If you banish some Exceed monsters on your opponent, you're going to get this effect to go off with more damage, more life points. So ultimately, if you only get these 3 into the banish zone, that's 3,000 life points. If you get any more on top of that, that's 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, however many that you have in the banish zone, that's all that you're getting. And then finally, to finish out, we play 3 Link monsters. We play Link Karibo. Everyone knows what this does. These are all some staple cards that I decided to play just to tech into the deck, just to help mitigate. And with the effect of Reactor Slime, you can use the tokens, as a matter of fact, to actually help link these monsters together. So nice text, nice things to have. So that's the deck, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, this deck has a ton of options for you to go into. The main goal of this deck, ultimately, while SLIFER is the big reason you're playing this deck, your plan A is Numerons. Most of the time, they're going to be your go-to. So let's go ahead and talk about the strengths of this deck. A very strong going second style of deck, an OTK deck, as you could call it. And even if you don't OTK them with Numerons, you have cards that can prevent yourself from dying, like Guardian Slime, Metal Reflect Slime, Egyptian God Slime. And if you can get SLIFER out in the field before these little dudes go away, they have to then climb over SLIFER, which before they get banished during your end phase, what you do is you go into your battle phase, you do your attack. If they somehow survive and you have SLIFER in your hand, main phase 2, tribute summon SLIFER, and then bam, they have to get through SLIFER and sit through SLIFER. Obviously, if you don't have enough effect damage with Sunya, that's when you would go into SLIFER. But if they have less than 3,000, if they have 3,000 or less life points, you go into Sunya. If they somehow have more, go into SLIFER. You have options. If you go into Sunya and then you have something like Metal Reflect Slime or Guardian Slime in your hand, you won the game. There's nothing that they could do. You just single-handedly won the game, because then you could stall them out until your turn comes, and then Sunya comes back and then slaps them for 3,000 effect points. So stalling is another very strong part of this deck. You have plenty of ways to keep your opponent at bay and tell them, no, I need to wait. Give me a moment. Drawing is another key aspect of this deck. Obviously, you need to have that drawing feature if you're playing SLIFER the Sky Dragon, but there's plenty of ways to just get 1,000 cards in your hand at a time, and it's very, very useful. I will say, though, the weaknesses of this deck, if they can plow through your stalling, and you're just unfortunately not equipped to handle anything else, you don't have your Numeron Network, you don't have a SLIFER in your hand, you don't have a Guardian Slime in your hand, this deck is prone to bricking, which is one of the faults of playing an Egyptian God deck. So the deck is prone to bricking. If your opponent can stop you from doing any of your stalling, if they can prevent you from getting your Numeron Network out, there are ways to stop the deck in the forms of negation and things like that. But that's why we have everything in here to help cover that weakness, but it can happen. So if that stuff gets halted, it's very slow building. You could stall your way to getting another one, but sometimes it could be a little hard. And if they could plow through you, that, unfortunately, it is what it is. That's probably the biggest weakness of this deck. If you fail for SLIFER, if they stop you for Numeron Network, if they stop you with Numeron Calling, It's going to be just a little tough. And if they can get through this card right here, you're really kind of just screwed. You're up shit's creek without a paddle. So that's pretty much the weakness of this deck. But ultimately, I think the strengths of this deck outweighs the weaknesses. This deck is absurd. It's so strong, and I love the fact that I can play my favorite God card as competently as I can thanks to this deck. So that's the remainder of the deck. I don't know why I said so loud. I'm so sorry. That's the deck, guys. Let me know what you guys think down below. If you guys are playing a God card deck, let me know how you are playing it. Let me know if you're enjoying it. Let me know how well it performs in ranked. I would love to hear all of this and that. And yeah, you guys know what to do if you enjoyed the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is a God, and this is farewell. Until next time, I'll see you later.